So my name is Lauren Dean. I'm currently studying my postgraduate degree, a Master's in English Literature, and I first joined Bangor University in 2018 to do my undergraduate degree. So I first went into the archives in the first semester of my Master's degree, and that was with the module Material Text and Editing with Dr. Michael Durant. And then the second semester I went back as well to do the Adopt a Book module, which is where all my research was based, and that's where I did my research into the book object. So the book that I was focused on was the MS79 manuscript, and it's quite a large manuscript book that has a range of different uses and evidence in of book use. And it took a lot of time and dedicated research, and I found out so much information about this one rare book that when I started I knew nothing about, and by the end of the module I had this whole range of evidence that I put together to put into an assignment. So based off of a lot of the marginalia in this one book, like the written dates and the names and some of the images that were in the middle of the section of the book, I was able to find out where it was first made, because it was a manuscript book, so there's no clear publication date and there's no printed information in there, it's all handwritten. So I was able to find out that it was made in the mid-1700s, and then from those names written inside, I was able to trace back its history and some of the past owners and people who'd used the book, and with each set of owners they'd added in a distinct section of the book with different uses. So it was actually really interesting, and I think it's one thing to learn the literary theory and the critical research behind these things, but then it's another thing to actually be able to physically apply that in person. So a lot of the substance that I learned in Michael's lectures, I was able to apply in my research, and I think being able to physically see those features of a book and throughout my research, I think that theory is kind of insubstantial until you have that first-hand physical experience. So being able to actually go into the archives and see these things firsthand and research them myself, that was one of the fundamental parts of my learning experience, because I learned so much being able to do it myself rather than sitting in a lecture and hearing about these things. I was able to see them in person. So I think being able to actually enter the archives and being trusted with this book object to kind of find out its history was really, I feel quite privileged to have been able to have done that, because I found out so much about this rare book that can then remain with it in its history that was unknown beforehand. So one of the things I liked about the archives before I'd even gone into those, I was aware that it was open to the public. I know that members of the public can book in to come and see certain collections, and I think there's a lot in the Bangor University archives, the material that relates to the local area and the history of the local area, and I quite like that the archives is dedicated to kind of preserving and championing Welsh culture and the history of Wales, because I know one of the collections that I first saw when I came into the archives was some of the documents from the Penrhyn estates. And being a local, I've been raised in Bangor, I've lived here forever, being able to physically see that history of something that I've been to and I've experienced, I've been there when I was in school and things as tours, being able to see that history that maybe some people aren't aware of, like the darker side maybe, the links to slavery and colonialism. I think that was so interesting to see that, and I think for other people being able to come in to see those kind of things is rewarding for the community as well. So as well as being able to open to members of the public, I think for students to be able to come in and to enter this really welcoming sort of environment in the archives and being kind of given the freedom to explore different sources that are in there for their own modules or courses, whichever they might be doing, I think that the information that the archives holds, you can't access that anywhere else. You can't. That kind of raw material isn't available on the internet. It's something that you have to go in there and see. So I think archives as a whole provides just a whole new environment for learning. It's a different kind of learning experience than you might get in a lecture room or a seminar group. It's a physical learning experience, and I think it adds so much depth to the text, and like I said earlier, the context and the learning material that you get in a classroom, that's just reinforced when you can see things firsthand and physically hold that material in your hands. I think it's an invaluable experience.